People keep asking if I'm back, and I'm starting to think, yeah, I'm back. What do you mean you're back? You've always been here. Well, last week I, didn't do a video. I had to take some time off. You did? Yeah, I did. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Huh. I don't remember that. Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here is once again to talk John motherfucking Wick, Baba Yaga, the Boogeyman. Yes, it's here, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. What I like, what I dislike, how does it stand up to the other John Wick movies in the wick-averse? Who gets wicked, who doesn't get wicked, what goes on? Let's talk about it. So if you didn't see my review of John Wick Chapter 2, I was actually a little bit late to the John Wick party. As most people kind of ignored it in the theaters, didn't really think much of it, and caught it on home video after a bunch of people told me to see it. And finally saw it when it came out on DVD and loved it. It was awesome. Then Chapter 2 came out and that was also awesome. I'm super on board for this franchise. So I was very excited to see they're continuing it with a Chapter 3. So yeah, let's get into it. So John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum is brought to us once again by director Chad Stahelski, who is a stunt professional and also brought us the first John Wick movies, both of them, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. So he continues on with Chapter 3 Parabellum. So this takes place directly after the events of Chapter 2, where John Wick was kicked out of the table, as it's known, or the high table, because he killed somebody on the grounds of the Continental, breaking the rules, and he now has a bounty on his head of $14 million that is open to anyone willing to collect. Will John survive? Will he won't survive? Most importantly, will his dog survive? We don't know. Without getting into too many spoilers, that's the basic plot of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. So let's talk about the characters. So of course we got some returning characters. Ian McShane once again returns as Winston and Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King. They're both very awesome as well. Did some cool stuff, but not a lot to say about them. They played what they played in the previous roles. Nothing too crazy or extreme about them, but I enjoyed them a lot. Lawrence Fishburne specifically had a lot of fun with his role. But of course we have to talk about the man, the myth, Baba Yaga. Keanu Reeves, once again, John fucking Wick. Well, he's John Wick. There's not a whole lot to say about him, considering that this takes place right after Chapter 2, and Chapter 2 takes place pretty much right after Chapter 1. This is all, they actually even said it takes place within a week or 2 weeks of themselves. This is a short span, so really you're not going to see a whole lot of change in the character, because this is, him still going after everything, and, but yeah, Keanu kills it in this role, doing a lot of awesome stunts, looks awesome, is intimidating, is very cool. Love Keanu in this role. Speaking of which, has anyone done as many iconic roles as Keanu? Because he's Ted, he's Neo, he's Johnny Point Break in Point Break, he's Johnny Mnemonic in Johnny Mnemonic, and now he's John fucking Wick. He just tends to get these roles that would define any one actor's entire career, and he has multiple of them, so that's very cool. So of course we got some new characters popping their heads in, and one of the kind of biggest and marquee ones is Halle Berry shows up as Sophia. So Sophia is another assassin that knows John Wick, that owes John Wick a blood pact, and helps him out. And she is awesome. I mean, she's done a lot of action roles before, and she's really made for them and really dives right into them. She kicks major ass. She has some dogs that also kick major ass. So I loved Halle Berry in this one. She was very awesome. So thumbs up to Halle Berry. Then we have Mark Dacascos, I think that's how you say it, playing Zero. And you might remember him, and I'm not making this up. He is the chairman from Iron Chef.
Today's secret ingredient is scallop.
That's a real thing. So, he's interesting. So he's trying to collect on John Wick's bounty, sees himself as the new John Wick that's going to take over his role. He is kind of this dangerous but unhinged but also kind of fanboy-y guy. He's very interesting, has some very funny parts as well. But he's not quite the protagonist. He's not quite the antagonist. He's not this, comic relief either, and he's not the comic sidekick. He's just there, but he's a major part of this movie. It's very interesting how they play with his role a bit. It's kind of interesting and different. The real antagonist is Asia Kate Dillon playing the Educator, and I swear to God, I thought this during the entire movie, that I thought this was short hair Lizzie Kaplan. Like, they look the same, they sound the same. I swear to God, up and down, that this was Lizzie Kaplan. It is not. The interesting part, though, is she was in Orange is the New Black. In the last movie, Chapter 2, had Ruby Rose, who was also in Orange is the New Black. So apparently, if you're on Orange is the New Black, you get into a John Wick movie. That's interesting. But she is basically a major part of the high table, come to ask questions about why John Wick did what he did in Chapter 2, how he got away with it, and is looking to seal up any holes that this organization might have that is getting spilled out into the public because John Wick is fucking with them. And she's pretty cool. She's very tight-laced, kind of intimidating, but not in a way like she would beat you up, more in a way of she knows people that'll beat you up. And it's kind of like cool. I like that. She plays it very cool. She's very back end, like, I'm not taking your shit. I'm going to shut you down. I like that. She's very cool. And it's worth mentioning, Angelica Houston, Morticia Addams herself, pops up in this, playing a director of a Russian ballet. I just thought it was very cool. She was awesome in it, but not a lot to say about her character, but she was cool. So what did John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum do well? Well, of course, it's a John Wick movie, so of course the action has to be there, and it is. It's fucking amazing. They up the stakes. There's some craziness. There's stuff with horses and dogs and motorcycles and swords and guns and shields and glass walls, glass floors. Holy crap, it is all over the place, but it is insanity, and it's amazing. There are some amazing action scenes, and the first John Wick movie really turned the action genre on its head in a lot of ways. The way it's shot, the way it's done, the way it's acted, the way the plot runs, which I'll get to in a minute. But overall, it changed the way action movies work and how they are done and shot and used. And they continue it in this movie. It's some fantastic action scenes. One thing, in the first John Wick movie, there's a scene where he's trying to stab a guy and he's holding the knife back, and then John punches the knife into him. I did not think they could beat that knife kill. Oh yeah, they beat that knife kill. I won't tell you what they did, but goddamn did they beat it. And it's so good, and some amazing action scenes, so thumbs up right there. Speaking of the action scenes, this movie is unrelenting. It jumps you right into it. 5 minutes into the movie, it's gone. There's action scene after action scene after action scene. It's just going. It's unrelenting, and it's upping the stakes of the plot from the first movie into this one. And it was this huge undertaking, but it's also, it didn't up it to where it was totally insane and unbelievable. They upped it just the right amount, so where it's okay, now we're moving even farther. I'm not seeing the same stuff, but it's also not like ridiculous. So I think they balance that really well. Speaking of stuff they balance really well, so John Wick, you would start thinking is like this crazy Superman guy that you're never going to take down, and why should I care because he's Superman, nothing's going to happen to him. But somehow they make it so you are still worried about him. So like John McClane, another regular everyday man action star, by the fourth movie was Superman. Like he couldn't get destroyed, like he could just do whatever and he'd be fine. Somehow, John Wick has kept it to where you're still worried about him. Like, he still might die at any moment. On top of, it's not so much like if he's going to live, as much as how is he going to get out of this situation. And, like, some of it plays a little fast and loose with physics a little bit, but overall it's very realistic, and they keep it, like, in the realm of our current reality. And so it's kind of interesting to see, like, how's John going to get out of this one? And it's very cool, and I think it makes it so John himself is not boring. You don't think he's just going to get out of it because he's John fucking Wick, but how is he going to do it? And is he going to do it because is he going to get stabbed again or shot? Or they do some really cool stuff there. And finally, the main thing that I really like, but I'm a continuity nerd, as you know, but it continues the story directly. A lot of times, especially with action movies, when they do the sequels, they change directors and writers, and they change all this stuff. So stuff they've set up in previous movies isn't necessarily followed up on, or they just resolve it really quickly so they can do their story. Like, let's just finish that, now we're on to ours. A huge one of that is G.I. Joe. Between like 1 and 2, they're so completely different ideas, and they throw away everything the first G.I. Joe did, like, right away. But this one definitely continues it, and it's definitely due to the same writers and directors and actors. So this feels like one story. Like, it looks the same between the 3 movies. The story continues on in a proper fashion. It's very cool that way, and it just makes it an incredible trilogy. But no movie is perfect. Where does John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum, fall short? So, the first John Wick movie, I like to say, is the epitome of show, don't tell. It was a lot of not explaining, and you just understood stuff from people's actions and what they did. And, you know, so like he gave the gold coin to the hotel, and you just understood, okay, well, there's something wrong with this hotel. It's something underground with it, and that you kind of build on, oh, this is all where all the assassins stay and all that. They didn't have to go like, the Continental, the place where the murderers and dregs hang out. They didn't have to do anything like that. You just understood it from actions, and that was so cool. This time, I think they get bogged down a little too much in the lore of the John Wick universe. Like, now he's got to go see this guy, who's got to go see this guy, and we got to talk to this guy, he'll tell me where to see this guy. And then the educator's got to come in, and she's going to do this to this room, and she's going to call in this person to do this, and we're going to do, you know, call this file and pull this file to do this thing. And there's a lot of that. I felt it really kind of dragged it down too much. Like, we're learning a little too much about this universe, and it's kind of taken away from the mystery and the fun of, like, we don't quite know everything, and we're starting to kind of learn everything. The other minor problem I had is basically, why is John Wick still going? So he got the revenge for his dog. The second one he is brought in due to a blood oath, which did lead into this one, him being hunted down, but it's like, why doesn't he just die? Like, what are you still holding on to? And they try to make an excuse for it, I won't give away, but it felt a little forced and a little just forced. It just felt like, oh, okay, I guess. I don't know. It felt like John Wick is running. He can even like feel like he's running out of fumes. Like, how long can you keep this going, man? So, yeah, little minor nitpicks. So that's pretty much it I have for negatives, so let's go ahead and get some spoilers. So throw up the spoiler sign here, jump to this time code here if you want to skip spoilers, because I'm doing some freaking spoilers. So this movie had a crazy ending. So basically the Educator said that the hotel is no longer a safe haven, and she sends in her troops to take out John Wick and Winston, and it's this giant battle of John Wick taking out these like uber troops with this huge armor, on top of that Zero guy coming in trying to kill him, and it's this big giant battle, and they finally had a parlay with the Educator and Winston, and they're like, okay, you can have your hotel back, but you got to kill John Wick. And Winston shoots John Wick and throws him off the roof. And then he's later picked up by one of the Bowery bums and delivered to Lawrence Fishburne, the Bowery King, who hints at that they're going to go to war with the entire high table. Whew. And, not to mention that they you thought they killed Lawrence Fishburne, but he survived. So this is getting a little bit convoluted. Like, if this isn't your first John Wick movie, you're going to be completely confused. Like, if you're going in fresh, and I swear even in my theater, there's a lot of explaining going on. But, that's interesting. So they definitely hinted at a fourth one coming. I would be interested in that. My one problem is I want a John Wick box set, and I can't get a John Wick box set until they finish it, or at least have a long enough gap to where, I can consider getting a box set. So I can't own the John Wick movies, because I don't want to buy them individually and then get a box set. I want the box set, damn it. But it's interesting. So there's definitely room for a fourth. And this one's already doing fantastic in theaters, and it's got some great reviews, so a fourth is probably coming. So interested to see what they do with that. And really, that's all I have for spoilers, because I don't really want to give too much away. It's definitely worth checking out. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. So in the end, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum is fan-fucking-tastic. I loved it, had a lot of fun with it. Great action, great suspense. Keanu's amazing in it. It is so fucking good. If they stop here, this is the new best trilogy. Like, get out of the way, Lord of the Rings. The John Wick trilogy is better than you. So if they stop here, best trilogy of all time. Bar none, hands down, every movie in this trilogy is fantastic, and they did not slow down with 3. It beat the curse of the third movie that a lot of franchises have a problem with. It went right past that, didn't even look back, had no problems. It is so fucking good. So of course I'm giving it the rating of see it in theaters. Check it out now, although make sure you check out the other John Wicks first, because it does get a little confusing if you haven't seen those two. But if you have seen those two, check out John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. It is awesome. I had a lot of fun with it, and it's great. So what did you think of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum? Let me know in those comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you refuse to kill John Wick's dog, because it's a bad idea if you do. And share this video with anyone if you could. That'd be incredibly helpful to me. And thank you very much. So I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.
Welcome to the classroom!